Hi and welcome to the Sapphiron guide. Sapphiron is the penultimate boss in all of Classic and is in Naxxramas, so congratulations if we've made it this far. That's a really big step. Now, once you kill all the final bosses in the Spider Wing and the Abomination Wing, Death Knight Wing and the Plague Wing, these eyes will light up and there'll be an orb in the center of where we came into Naxxramas. Once you click that orb, you'll be teleported to Sapphiron's lair. Now, Sapphiron is probably the hardest boss we'll face in Naxxramas, simply because he's the hardest gear check. With new itemization and talent specs and etc., and all the theory crafting that people do, I think some of the earlier gear checks that were might be a bit better, but Sapphiron is definitely hard. Now, you'll need a lot of frost resistance, and it's advised to pre-pot a shadow and a frost resistance potion for this fight, simply because of the mechanics that you'll face. Now, as you'll see, Sapphiron is not fully assembled as you walk in, so once we walk further into the room, he'll assemble and you can start the encounter. For the specific amount of frost resistance that you need, just ask your class leader, they'll know. There should be posts about it on the Discord as well. So just get the info from your class leader. The fight consists of two phases, a ground phase and an air phase. For the ground phase, which is the primary part of this fight, Sapphiron has a couple of mechanics. One is Frost Aura. Frost Aura does around 600 frost damage, ticking every other second. This can be mitigated by frost resistance, and this is why it's important that you do have a high level, because 600 damage every 2 seconds is a lot of fucking damage going out to the entire raid. The only one who doesn't need frost resistance is the main tank, but having 1 or 2 pieces on is not a bad idea. Maybe putting on the Stormpike insignia for a bit of added health regen is not a bad shout. This goes for everyone. The Stormpike insignia, if you're not already exalted with Ulstrike Valley, go grab it. Equip it for this fight because it is one of the best trinkets for this. As we go on later stages, you might get frost resistance gear that helps us clear this encounter, so this will get progressively easier, but the first time that we get here, it's probably the hardest boss in Naxxramas, in my opinion. Other than the Frost Aura, Sapphiron also casts Life Drain. Life Drain is a curse placed on a player, and it will continuously heal Sapphiron if it's not dispelled. It's important that this is dispelled instantly, as it prolongs the fight, and this gets progressively harder for each minute you take killing it. After 5 minutes, Sapphiron will enrage, and Frost Aura will do triple or quadruple damage or something, and it will just instantly wipe the raid. Other than Life Drain, he'll also cast Blizzard, an empowered version of Blizzard that will just randomly travel around the room. Don't stand in Blizzard. Very, very simple. For Life Drain, it's advised that mages do the cleansing, mainly because we don't have enough druids either to do it, but also there's so much healing going out that having druids focus on dispelling is a rough task on top of the amount of healing that you need. From the PTR videos, this is also the hardest boss that people came up against, and that was even with a couple of buffs on the PTR for people to see all the fights. After roughly 45 seconds, Sapphiron will take to the air and he'll start casting something called Ice Bolt. Ice Bolt deals a large amount of frost damage to everyone, so pop a greater frost protection potion just as he's about to ascend, and then you should have a good amount of resistance for the first hit from it. Once you're hit by it, you'll be entombed in ice, so you'll be an ice block stood around. And he casts this 5 times before he casts his final ability, which is Frost Breath, where a giant ball of frost will drop down from Sapphiron. When it hits the ground, it deals 75,000 frost damage, which is a one-shot on anyone. And it can only be avoided by standing behind the ice. Now, standing behind the ice is a bit tricky on this because Sapphiron's hitbox is massive. If you stood too far in, so far in that maybe you're attacking hunters who attack, or melee who can maybe even melee from a tomb, if they attack it, a bit like on Chromagus, it counts as you being in melee range and not behind this ice block, so you will be killed. So do not DPS during this air phase. Just stand behind the ice block, wait for the frost breath to drop, and then make sure that you stay alive. Because we do need everyone in order to kill this. So, after the frost breath has dropped, he'll land again, tank picks him up, tank and spank. So, recap, don't stand in blizzard, use frost protection potions on cooldown if you can. Try and time it so that you have one for the first air phase at least. And Mage's decurse life drain as soon as you see it. The way we'll split the raid is that we'll have all of the even groups go to the right hand side, and all of the uneven groups go to the left hand side. The Ice Bolt from the air phase has a fairly large AoE on it, so it's important that people spread out in semicircles on these two corresponding sides. Sapphiron is also a classic dragon boss, so it has a frontal cleave and a tail swipe, so melee, stand on the back leg, don't stand in front, don't stand behind. Classic dragon stuff. Other than that, this fight is actually fairly simple. It's just a massive gear check, so there's nothing difficult about this tactic wise, but the gear level needs to be really high. So make sure that you bring those consumables. If you have money enough for a flask, this is also the place to use it, because you want to stay alive for as long as possible. So now I'm just walking in, engaging the fight, so you can see him assemble. We'll also try and divide paladins out, because frost resistance aura is just amazing for this fight. Should probably be situated on casters, as casters have less frost resistance for this, and we'll have them be the focal point for actually killing Sapphiron in terms of damage. But yeah, so this is just the classic dragon attack animation. It's attacking me. That was a tail swipe. Here you see the blizzard function, and it'll start traveling around the room. I've got life drain on me as well. Just going to stand here and tank it a little bit. But yeah, you want to make sure you move out of this, because once you get hit by it, it's really hard to move. It's a massive slow. I think it's similar to the Frost Mage talented Blizzard in terms of slowing, and damage is obviously much higher. Main tank also has to move from this, as no one can stand there and tank it with the amount of damage that goes out. Sapphiron himself hits quite hard, so just keep moving if you do. Here we go, Sapphiron is in the air. As you can see, the hitbox is massive. So here we go, I'm entombed in ice. It's a bit dodgy with the camera angle. Here we go, here's the frost ball. So yeah, so remember to hug the ice cube, like right behind me. And there you go. Ice tomb is removed. You go back to ground phase. Tank and spank, kill. If you kill Sapphiron, you can definitely kill Kel'Thuzad. Sapphiron is a much harder boss in terms of gear check. The reason why so few people killed Kel'Thuzad is because so few people got past Sapphiron. Because people stopped raiding at that point. So Kel'Thuzad himself is not easy, but Sapphiron is definitely a harder gear check, and Horseman is a harder fight in general. So yeah, kill Sapphiron, get loot, go on to Kel'Thuzad.